J'ai découvert l'opéra en très grande partie grâce à mon épouse.
Opera primarily thanks to my wife Claire, who's very musically minded. She chairs the Flânerie Musicale de Reims and is really the one who introduced me to the musical world. I met her when I was 24 years old. She was at the Geneva Conservatory where she played viola da gamba and cello. My real interest in music starts with Claire.
Welcome to the heart and soul of a house, the house of Taittinger. Bubbles, poetic moments, historical memories, a family spirit.
Vous préférez que je
What
vous
should I
appelle
call you?
Pierre-Emmanuel,
Pierre-Emmanuel,
Monsieur Taittinger?
rather than Mr. Taittinger?
Pierre-Emmanuel.
Pierre-Emmanuel.
Si ça vous va.
If you like.
Pierre-Emmanuel Taittinger takes us to the opera.
Well, it is certainly thanks to Claire that I developed an interest in music. My father was also a big influence as well. If he had not gone into politics or business, he would probably, from what I have heard from his brothers and sisters, have been a pianist. He played the piano extremely well, and then when he met my mother, she felt that the piano was going to become too important in their lives, and she preferred to take the place of the piano. So my father never really played the piano again. I heard him once or twice, but I could already tell that he was obviously very talented, very romantic and sentimental. He loved Romani music and the Meditation from Thais by Massenet. He had very romantic soul, and he also loved Mozart. But it wasn't just Mozart's musical genius that interested him. He would always tell me, I would love to be buried as Mozart was. Mozart was taken to the cemetery in pouring rain, and his dog was the only escort to the hearse. We could have, in the end, done pretty much the same thing for my father, but that is a story I'll tell you another day. I experienced my first magical moment at the opera one night when we left Chamonix in the pouring rain to go to the Scala in Milan and listen to Nabucco. I took some ridiculous risks. We had about 5 or 6 close calls on the trip between Chamonix and Milan to arrive just 1 second before the doors closed. As we listened to that opera conducted by Riccardo Muti, Claire and I held hands and felt like we were actually in heaven. I think that is perhaps the one and only time in my life where I felt I was in heaven ahead of time, if I ever actually do go to heaven one day. That, of course, is not a given. I imagine I'll probably visit purgatory first as a practicing Christian.
Could you then tell us a bit about those operas that inspired you to this extent?
Well, I love operas by Verdi and Mozart, of course. There are some really magnificent pieces. I learned by often listening to the Paris opera programming, where Stéphane Lissner is the Grand Master since he directs both Opera Garnier and Opera Bastille. I realized afterwards that there is the sheet music, the composition, and the musician, but also the staging, the choreography. The opera is an entire universe. Music is just one part. It's a bit like in cooking. There are the initial ingredients, but then there is all the rest. There is the presentation, there is the conductor's art, there is a whole series of crafts to take into account. They give an opera an illuminating and an elevating element somehow which you don't necessarily find when listening to a cellist play a Bach suite. There is no competition when it comes to beauty, but there is a difference. And then I also truly appreciate operas that are simply accessible. Well, all of great Verdi's operas move me. Wagner used to move me. Now I find it's a bit too powerful for me. I like these more accessible operas, although I'll say once more that these are not my first passion. What I love in opera, in fact, is listening to the music and drifting away into my dreams. I pay very little attention to the story itself, which you can now read while at the opera. No, I immediately slip away. I'm an opera lover much like I was a student, at the back of the class where I played the dunce, oblivious, back to the radiator again. I'm a bit like that at the opera. I slip away very quickly. For me, opera is a way of getting away, further, faster, higher, in the most enchanting way.
You who like heroes, are there any in opera? Whether it be the characters themselves or those who play the part, singers, dancers, etc.?
No, I would say that my hero, if I were to have one, would be because he does an amazing and extraordinary difficult job. I think he has directed a number of theaters. In fact, he calls the opera theater, and that would be Stéphane Liszt. He is about my age, and every time I see him I am impressed by how well he masters his field, how he directs both men and women, by his critical thinking, by how he simultaneously drives and manages two enormous establishments while maintaining his insight and artistic sense. He molds these two operas into one institution that holds center stage and carries influence around the world. Much like an excellent 3 Michelin star restaurant. Only he does it with the Opera of Paris, a 5-star institution. Yes, if I had to pick a hero today, it would probably be him. There is no company of this dimension that does not owe everything, first and foremost, to the person who directs it. So, after consideration, if I had to choose a hero in terms of opera, it would be Stéphane Liszt.
What about the vocalists?
Oh, well, the great vocalists. Well, I know a girl who sings quite a bit, my daughter Clémence. But the one who really sends shivers down my spine, even if it is somewhat trite to say, is Maria Callas. Callas had not only that sublime voice, but all the history, drama, all of which added to her legendary life. Kathleen Ferrier, for example. But as far as I'm concerned, there is no competition amongst artists, like painters or musicians. There is no competition between Mozart and Van Gogh. There is no competition between Picasso and Francis Bacon. It's exactly the same thing, but between the sorrow in her soul and the magnificence of her voice, Callas embodies all the frailty of the human race, as well as its glorious achievements and virtues. That is why it is so easy for me to cite Maria Callas. And on top of that, I have real admiration for her life story. Her legendary life. Her life as we know it. Her private life, musical life, everything. What a glorious bird perched in the immense artistic tree that is opera. Does opera naturally go hand in hand with love? Evidently, because you see many lovers at the opera. You see many couples at the opera. It's very ceremonial, much like champagne. Going to the opera is a ceremony like drinking champagne. So when you attend the opera, you feel this. Whether couples are in blue jeans or sneakers or in beautiful outfits, you can feel the ceremonial part. It is also for this reason that we wanted to associate our best champagne with the world of opera, since the ceremonial aspect of the two seemed obvious to us. It is music in the heart. Nobody goes to the opera alone. Well, some people may go alone, but nevertheless, it is like champagne, something you enjoy with 1, 2, or 3 other people. It's a ceremony, a feast. Going to the opera is like a feast. What is so marvelous about music, like the opera, is for us moments where we don't need to speak, only to listen, to hear, and to dream. Music, the notes, are often so much more elegant than words. Words that can emulate a beautiful musical score are more than rare. That has always been my belief. So when you enter a venue where the music is superb, real music and not just noise, you have the impression of being uplifted beyond words.
On va dans un lieu de musique, de belle musique, de grande musique, et non pas un lieu de bruit. On a le sentiment qu'on est au-dessus des mots et qu'on s'élève dans la cérémonie.